Okay. Good morning, everyone. Before we start this conference, we will begin with a prayer. To Jessica Irawan, please lead the prayer.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's place ourselves in the presence of the Lord. Dear God, we thank you for your blessings that we can gather here to attend the webinar today. May we ask for your blessings that the activities set for this undertaking be successful and effective. We pray that you bless all the committees in charge, that they fulfill their task responsibly, and the objective they have set may all be achieved. Lord, grant us your wisdom during this webinar. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Okay, thank you so much, Jessica. Good morning, everyone. I am delighted to welcome you all to the 6th English Letters Undergraduate Conference. My name is Johannes Taya, and I'm from the English Letters Department, class of 2021, Universitas Sanata Dharma. It is an honor and a precious chance for me to be your master of ceremony in this wonderful event on 19th of September 2022. This year's English Letters Conference is under the theme of Digital Transformation, Post-Pandemic English Language and Literature. The English Letters Undergraduate Conference is an annual conference held by the English Letters Academic Club from Universitas Sanata Dharma, which gathers students to express their knowledge about English language and literature. Thank you for coming. The Honorable Mr. Tatang Iskarna as Dean of the Faculty of Letters, Mrs. Katarina Brameswari as ELUC's advisor, all of the lecturers who have come, Mrs. Almira Ghazani Sabrina Romala from Universitas Sanata Dharma, and all of the participants from Universitas Sanata Dharma, Health Polytechnic Karya Husada Yogyakarta, University of Bengkulu, Universitas Komputer Indonesia, and all of the other universities that I cannot mention one by one. Now, before we start, we are so sorry to announce that Mr. Miguel Escobar Varela, as the first speaker, excuse me, he is not able to attend our webinar today due to personal reasons. Therefore, we will only have one presenter, which is Mrs. Almira Ghazani Sabrina Romala from Universitas Sanata Dharma. We hope that you will stick with us until the end of the webinar. But first of all, let's say thanks to God, who has been giving us guidance, happiness, health, and mercy, so we can attend and participate in this event without any obstacles. So, how are you all? I hope that all of you are in the good shape, good condition, healthy, and of course, don't forget to be happy. Sadly, this year's ELUC conference had to be held online due to COVID-19. But of course, that is not a barrier for us to learn and to gain knowledge from this event. Now, before we move to the conference, I will read the rundown. First, we have the welcoming speech from ELUC's chair, Jean-François Chen-Bugianto. Second, we have a welcoming speech from the Dean of Faculty of Letters, Mr. Tatang Iskarna. Third is documentation. Fourth, reading the rules of the webinar. Fifth, the first plenary session by our speaker, Mrs. Almira Ghazani Sabrina Romala from Universitas Sanata Dharma. The sixth, we have the second plenary session, which is about participants' talk summary of their respective papers. Seventh is the Q&A session. The eighth is the award for the best paper nomination. The ninth is the closing speech from ELUC's advisor, Mrs. Katarina Brameswari. And the 10th, the last, is the ending prayer. So now, without further ado, We will begin this event with a welcoming speech from the head of the committee, Jong Hongkwa Chen Bujianto. The screen is all yours.
Okay, thank you, MC. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, dan salam kebajikan. First of all, I thank God for His blessing and guidance so that we can be here joining the 6th English Letter Undergraduate Conference, or ELUC 2022. As the chair of committee, I would like to thank Mrs. Almira Ghazani Sabrina Romala as the key speaker, Mr. Tatang Iskarna as the Dean of the Faculty of Letters, Mrs. Anna Fitrianti as the Vice Dean of the Faculty of Letters, Mr. Hirmawan Wijarnaka as the Chair of English Letters Department, Mr. Simon Atsa Manggala as the Vice Chair of English Letters Department, the lecturers that are able to attend this conference, and all participants that have submitted the papers. Thank you for being here with us today. Our honor is to have you all after all the waiting and hard work. Finally, we can hold an English Letters Undergraduate Conference 2022 with the theme Digital Transformation in Post-Pandemic Language and Literature. In this opportunity, I would like to give my gratitude to all the ELUC committee that have already worked so hard for the success of English Letter Undergraduate Conference 2022, and of course, our companions, Membre and Mem Almira, who always accompany the process of organizing the event. That's all from me. I apologize if there is a mistake in my words that is pleasing to you. With all honor, please enjoy the event. Thank you. MC, I give back to you.
Okay, thank you, Jong Hongkwa Chen Bujianto, for the welcoming speech. And next, we will hear a welcoming speech from the Dean of Faculty of Letters, Mr. Tatang Iskarna. The screen is all yours, sir.
Yeah, Honorable Plenary Speaker, Ms. Almira, my respected colleagues in the Faculty of Letters, especially the lecturers from the English Department and the head of the English Department, Pak Mawan, and also all distinguished participants of ELUC 2022, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Today is such an essential day as we are holding a digital language and literature conference in the post-pandemic era. I can say that this can be the end of COVID-19 era, as most of the campus in Indonesia hold offline meeting in class. In this post-pandemic learning activities, I think there are three important things to consider. The first one is that teaching and learning model. We are not going to go back to the old and traditional model, in this case, offline learning, as we used to do, because we are in different and typical age of technology. The second one is that in this unprecedented disruption era, I think all types of learning institutions have to embrace technology to continue teaching, including methods and procedures. Yeah. And the third thing is that we need breakthrough and innovations to achieve a better result in teaching and learning process. To welcome the future developments, such as working toward the changing of teaching model, learning model, and adopting scientific and effective English learning ideas, seeking new breakthrough and innovative models in digital learning in order to continuously improve English knowledge and skills. This conference, I think for sure, is one of our effort to perceive the phenomenon of the transformation of learning and teaching in language and literature especially from the student's perspective. And this will also give you insight for us as lecturers. So I hope that through this conference, lots of productive discussion and exploration will be exposed and of course will be useful for our digital literacy. Have a nice conference and thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Tatang, for the welcoming speech. And okay, all right. Now we will enter the documentation session. Now, we kindly ask all of the participants and all of the committee to turn on your camera on your respective devices. Now, I will ask help from the publication team to direct the participants and to document this event.
Hello, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank all of you who has attended our online webinar. We are all very grateful for the enthusiasm for this online webinar. Before we start the Zoom meeting, I would like all the participants to open your Zoom camera and prepare for the webinar photo. I will take the photo by screenshotting per screen. Thumbs up if you guys are ready. Okay, so the first screen. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I will go to the second screen. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and the last screen. 1, 2, 3. Okay, the photo session is done. Thank you for the attention, and let's continue the Zoom meeting.
Okay, that's it for the documentation session. And now I will read out some of the rules that are conducted in this webinar. All of the participants are requested to maintain the netiquette and to follow these rules. Right now, I have everyone on mute to avoid background noises that may distract you from listening to the webinar. First, please make sure that your microphone is off during the plenary sessions. If you would like to express something or to ask questions, please use the raise hand feature during the question and answer session, or you can write your questions in the chat room in Zoom. If we cannot answer your question during this conference, we will summarize the responses and we'll send them back to you afterwards. Second, please identify yourself. Before you start to speak, please state your name so we know who is talking. The third, please speak slowly and clearly. This is to make sure that everyone can follow your point in its entirety. Fourth, the Zoom chat room is used only to ask questions related to the presentation. The fifth and the last, to all of the participants, please identify yourself by renaming your name with the right format. The format is as shown here on the screen, complete name _ institute. So once you enter the Zoom meeting, you are requested to be present using this name, complete name _ institute. Okay, so I think that's all for the rules. Yeah. And now that the rules are made clear, we will enter the main session, which is moderated by Andrea Cindy Rosari Putri. Andrea is one of the outstanding students, and some of her achievements are as follows. She is the chairman of Catholic Youth Community, St. Michael Pangkalan Adi Sucipto Church. She is the vice chair of English Mass Community, Sanata Dharma University. Excuse me. She is the vice chair of Literature for Children and Young Adults Club, Sanata Dharma University. She is the secretary of Elite 2022, Sanata Dharma University, and she is also a member of Sastra Inggris online promoting team, Sanata Dharma University. Andrea, all the time is yours.
Thank you, Johannes. Good morning, participants. Let me introduce myself. My name is Andrea Cindy, and I'll be serving as your moderator for today. First of all, I would like to thank all the presenters and participants for joining this conference. Before we start the presentation, I would like to let you know that there will be 2 speakers for this conference. For today's speaker, we have Ms. Almira Ghazani Sabrina Romala from Universitas Sanata Dharma. Almira Ghazani Sabrina Romala is a lecturer of the English Letters Department, Universitas Sanata Dharma, Yogyakarta. She is now the director of JLTC, or Jogja Literary Translation Club, a translation club for professionals, newbies, and also academicians that bring updated and latest issues of translation in Indonesia. She works as a freelance translator, mostly for academic texts. Ms. Almira's field of interest are literary translation, as well as translation in literature for children and young adults. And for her education, she has Sarjana Sastra from the English Literature Study Program from Universitas Negeri Yogyakarta in 2015, and Master of Arts in Linguistics from Universitas Gadjah Mada Yogyakarta in 2017. Ladies and gentlemen, this webinar is divided into 2 sessions. The first session is the presentation from the presenter. And if you have any questions, you can use the chat box below. And later on, we will have the question and answer session after the presentation. The second session is the participants talk about the summary of their paper and the question and answer after the presentation. Well, without further ado, I would like to welcome the presenter to deliver her presentation about moving the readers or the text closer, ideology in translated electronic Indonesian literature. Well, Ms. Almira, the screen is yours.
Okay, thank you, Andrea. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, Miss,
Okay.
clear.
Okay, good, thank you. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is such an honor for me to be able to present in front of you all at the 6th English Letters Undergraduate Conference, or ELUC, in 2022. First of all, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to all the committee for all the hard work and all the parties that support ELUC so that we can make this conference smoothly conducted, and also for all the participants. Thank you very much. Well, in this opportunity, I would like to share my thought on moving the readers or the text closer, ideology in translated electronic Indonesian literature. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, can you able me to do the screen sharing? All right. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes, Miss.
Okay, good, thank you. So my topic for today's ELUC would be moving the readers or the text closer, ideology in translated electronic Indonesian literature. My name is Almira Ghazani Sabrina Romala, and I am from English Letters Department, Universitas Sanata Dharma. Okay, the background of this topic is about identity. Identity can be reflected by distinctive traditions, culture, and language, and is also found in literary works. This identity issue is not without a problem, particularly if the discussion covers translated literature or literary translation. It is an arduous challenge to explore and maintain the identity of a translated literary work. This identity is also bound to the ideology in translating the works and how it represents the culture of the source language to the target language. Thus, our focus can be directed to the notion of bridging the cultural difference between the source language and the target language of the translation. Okay, let's continue with the culture. One of the most difficult problems in translating is found in the difference between cultures, as different cultures have different focuses. Let's define culture in literary works as the way of life and its expressions that are unique to a group that employ a specific language as its means of expression. In literary works, the culture represented is often embodied in culture-specific items or terms that are specific to a certain culture. The notion of culture-specific items is very common in translation, especially in literary translation. Newmark states that cultural focus leads to translation problems since there is a gap or cultural gap or distance. He further classifies culture-specific items as terms portraying ecology, material culture, social organization, gestures, and habits found in the text. Then, to cope with the culture-specific items, two basic ideologies of translation, domestication and foreignization, should be applied. In domestication or fluency, a translator attempts to produce a target language translation as naturally as possible, minimizing the strangeness of the foreign text to a clear and fluent style of translation that the readers feel like reading an original text, not a translated one. Thus, it brings the text closer to the readers. And on the contrary, in foreignization or resistance, a translator attempts to take the target language readers to the foreign culture of the source language and make them feel linguistics and cultural differences, or it brings the readers closer to the text. In many books and articles, the term domestication and foreignization are often considered as ideology in translation. In employing the ideology of translation, there must be some translation strategies applied to achieve it. Some of them are those proposed by Baker, such as translating the culture-specific items by utilizing cultural substitution, paraphrasing using a related word, superordinate, loan word plus explanation, less expressive word, paraphrasing using unrelated words, omissions, and also illustration. Then the focus of my research is on viewing the ideology of translation as well as the strategies applied in representing the identity in translated literary works. We'll see how translation ideology such as domestication and foreignization is used to express identity in Di Kaki Bukit Cibalak and its English translation, By the Foot of the Cibalak Hill, written by Ahmad Tohari. Ahmad Tohari's works always have a message and concerns that are pertinent to today's situation. Even though the works were published several years ago, current global issues are reflected in them, such as the oppression of the poor, the desire of young people to construct the nation, and the exploitation of nature are just a few of the issues explored in this novel, Di Kaki Bukit Cibalak. These examples and issues still persist now and are still relevant to our daily lives and challenges. As a result, Ahmad Tohari's Di Kaki Bukit Cibalak for me is a must read. Meanwhile, research into this work is still restricted, and the translation in by the foot of the Cibalak Hill has not been thoroughly investigated. Di Kaki Bukit Cibalak was first published in 1994 by Gramedia Pustaka Utama, and Monica de Kresnayani translated it into English as By the Foot of the Cibalak Hill. The same publisher, Gramedia Pustaka Utama, published the English translation in 2015. It tells the story of Pambudi, a young guy from Tanggir village in the 1970s who managed the cooperative barn in his village. And in this novel, the other important figure is Pak Dirga, the newly elected head of Tanggir village, who Pambudi believes cheated and abused his position for personal benefit. Furthermore, it is critical to examine how culture-specific items are translated using domestication or foreignization, as well as the translator's motivation for doing so. So by comparing the original work, Di Kaki Bukit Cibalak, and its English translation, By the Foot of the Cibalak Hill, this research attempted to investigate the translation ideology in Ahmad Tohari's work by unraveling the identity expressed. For the information, By the Foot of the Cibalak Hill is not released officially in the printed book. It is only available in electronic versions in Google Books, Gramedia Digital, and other digital platforms for electronic book, which I personally think in one way it will reach a wider audience as it is easier to access from anywhere. However, at the same time, it might be the reason why the research focusing on this work is still limited. There is more research taking another English translation of Ahmad Tohari's work, which are published by the same publisher. Take Karyamin's Smile and Kind Looking Eyes. And in 2016, By the Foot of the Cibalak Hill is also among plethora of literary works from Indonesia that is exhibited at the Frankfurt International Book Fair. So let us continue. By the Foot of the Cibalak Hill is not the only translated work in English that is published by Gramedia Pustaka Utama and mainly distributed in Indonesia. Some of them are released in both printed and electronic versions, and some are only released in digital versions, such as Cemara's Family One and The Falling Leaf Never Hates the Wind. That makes me wonder why the publisher translates the works into English, but also mainly distributes them in Indonesia. This question is related to the policy system of the original and translated literature in Indonesia. Then, where do these translated literary works stand? There are many reasons and objectives for translating Indonesian literary works into English, but these translated works are also distributed here in Indonesia. First, for commercial purpose, of course, if the author and the titles have a huge fan base, I think the fans will gladly wait for the English version, although they have the original copy already. Take Ika Natasa's books as examples. The English translation of her novels is also booming even before the pre-order time and several weeks on the best-selling list. Besides the exhibition at the International Book Fair, the English translation will help international marketing and also to the foreign publisher. For example, here, a publisher in Thailand has acquired the publishing right of The Architecture of Love to be released there. Thus, let me emphasize it, the English translation of these Indonesian literary works is very crucial, as it serves as the first step for the world audience. Therefore, the translation ideology and strategy are highly essential in representing the works in the target language. Moreover, it is possible that the next translation project for the book will be based on the English version, depending on the availability of the translators. But again, English has higher chances compared to the original Indonesian version, right? All right. Let's continue to the result and discussion of the research. In the English translation of the culture-specific items in Di Kaki Bukit Cibalak, the ideology used by the translator is a balance between domestication and foreignization. It shows that the translator aims to achieve certain goals. Moreover, in transferring the culture-specific items from Bahasa Indonesia to English, the translators also employ several translation strategies to convey the ideology of the translation, whether it is domestication and foreignization. The strategies found are cultural substitution, omission, superordinate, paraphrase, and loan words with an explanation. Ladies and gentlemen, here I provide some examples of domestication and foreignization to avoid misunderstanding, as sometimes the terms domestic and foreign can be misleading if we don't clarify them. Foreignization can be identified when we find foreign terms that are different from the working language. In this example, we pay attention mostly to the target text, which is in English. Thus, any terms that are not in English in the target text are considered foreignization. Domestication, on the other hand, focuses on minimizing the strangeness by introducing the common words used in the target language instead of providing readers with the foreign term. In the example, the culture-specific items kerbau and terowongan semak are translated into water buffalo and tunnel in English. There must be a slight change of meaning between, let's say, terowongan semak and tunnel, but it provides fluency in reading the target text. Meanwhile, here, foreignization retains the culture-specific items just as the original. An example is the term puyengan, which is maintained in the English translation. Although the readers may not be familiar with the terms and they might be confused, but at the same time, think they can guess from the context too in the story. Okay, so let's continue with the findings of the research. These are the examples of domestication found in the English translation of Di Kaki Bukit Cibalak. The strategies applied are mostly cultural substitution. We have also omission, superordinate, and paraphrase by using related words. All right, let's continue with one of the data. We know that Ahmad Tohari in his works is famous for describing the nature of the setting where the story takes place. He creatively describes the surroundings to show the beauty of the nature and environment. In Di Kaki Bukit Cibalak, there is a scene in which the author describes Tanggir village, which involves the ambience of the rice field, in which the buffaloes often pass by. And here in the source text, the word kerbau is translated into water buffalo. Thus, in translating the term, the translator uses domestication in transferring kerbau into water buffalo by applying cultural substitution. The strategy is done as the cultural elements that are identical to those found also found outside the target text environment. And still related to the kerbau explanation, the term hutan jati here, hutan jati, in the sentence, meskipun kerbau-kerbau itu telah jauh memasuki hutan jati Bukit Cibalak, suara korakan mereka masih tetap terdengar. Here, the term hutan jati is translated as domestication by using the word or the term forest. The term hutan jati is translated into forest only by the foot of the Cibalak Hill. There is a distortion of meaning in the translation as forest only without translating the word jati or teak in English. So it also applies to omission. It occurs probably because the introduction of Tangir village owning many teak trees is done in the previous part of the narration. Therefore, the restatement of the teak forest is not necessary here. And then the translator simplifies the setting of place by translating it only as forest, which is considered that the distortion is not significant in affecting the reader's understanding of the plot of the story. And then the other domestication is suara korakan. It is translated into the clang of their bells. It uses superordinate strategy. Korakan, it's from Javanese term. It is actually a bell usually worn in the neck of cows or buffaloes, so that the owner or the shepherd know the position of the cattle. So it's not just any bells. It is a specific type of bell for the cattle. And another term in the description of the water buffaloes is in di kaki Bukit Cibalak is also translated as domestication and cultural substitution in the next slide. Okay. So the sentence, binatang itu bebas berkeliaran mencari rumput, mencari umbut gelagah atau berkubang di tepi hutan jati, is describing the traits of the water buffalo in the story. The terms rumput, umbut gelagah, and berkubang are found to be translated in domestication and cultural substitution. The cultural substitution strategy in conveying domestication of translation in the previous nature terms provides the targeted readers with familiar words. They are grass, roots, and wallow in the muds and woods. Even the translator adds the word fresh in fresh grass to translate rumput to intensify the description of setting of place, as it may help the readers to imagine and feel the freshness and the breeze while reading the passage. Meanwhile, umbut gelagah is also translated into sugarcane roots. It helps the reader to understand the original term, and also it supports the atmosphere of the story where it takes place. And then one of the water buffalo's activity traits, so in this datum, we are talking about water buffaloes, yeah. Wallowing in the mud is used to translate the verb berkubang. Berkubang, according to KBBI, Kamus Besar Bahasa Indonesia, It means soaking or rolling in muddy water, usually for buffaloes, pigs, and other cattle, which is in line with wallowing in the mud used by the translator in By the Foot of the Cibalak Hill. Meanwhile, the setting of place Hutan Jati here again in the sentence is also translated by using domestication with cultural substitution and omission as it is transferred into the woods. So in the previous datum, we have forest and now we have the woods. It is consistent with the previous datum in which Hutan Jati is translated using the domestication with cultural substitution and omission. Furthermore, the translator employs the synonym of the forest by using this term, the woods, to build the setting of place in the paragraph without overusing or repeating the word forest and forest, as the phrase Hutan Jati in the source text occurs several times in the original passage. And then another example of domestication found in By the Foot of the Cibalak Hill. Here we have the term tauke. Tauke is also translated as domestication in the target text as it becomes employer. So tauke becomes employer. In KBBI, tauke means the boss or the employer, while Ahmad Tohari in his book, in the glossarium, he defines it as tengkulak or broker. Thus, it means that the translator employs the subordinate strategy as the meaning of employer is wider than the specific broker. The same strategy is also applied in translating tanah bengkok simply into land. Right, do you know tanah bengkok? No? Okay, so let me explain it. So tanah bengkok is, I think it comes from Javanese too. So if you know, tanah bengkok is land owned by the village government that can be rented by certain people to cultivate it. Meanwhile, the culture-specific item modin, which comes from the Banyumasan way of calling muazin or muezzin in English. It is a person who calls for prayer, who did the azan in the mosque, is paraphrased into someone who has religious service. So these are another example of domestication. But actually, in employing this ideology, there is a loss of meaning, and it is inevitable. But somehow it gives no obstruction for the readers in following the plot of the story. I believe that the decision in translating the culture-specific items is made without lessening the quality of the story. However, the culture is less represented because of the loss of meaning. All right. Besides domestication, the translator also employs foreignization in translating the culture-specific items in Di Kaki Bukit Cibalak to By the Foot of the Cibalak Hill. This ideology is probably used in the target language as there is no equivalence or similar terms to the original. In the following table, it can be seen that the term belukar puyengan is still maintained as puyengan bushes. The other examples are kucicap birds, pabuan, and the Javanese sayings nrimo pandum. Right, let's continue with one of the data. Puyengan is one of the types of wild shrub plants that are often found in Indonesia. As there is no equivalence of puyengan in English, thus the translator uses a loan word strategy to maintain the term to show the Indonesianness of the story. the readers would be curious about what Puyangan looks like, and I could imagine that they will Google it, like what Puyangan looks like. If the
I
term,
know.
yeah,
Sometimes
okay.
usually the explanation is put in footnotes.
Yeah, yes, that's also applies in some of the translated literary works. We have also in the footnotes or the endnotes, and also in the glossarium, perhaps. All right, thank you, Josephine, for adding the information. Thank you. Okay, let's continue with the Puyangan, yeah? We are still dealing with Puyangan here. All right, guys, even if we are reading the passage or the paragraph, the term might be alien and foreign, the use of it will not affect the reading experience, as in the sentence, the term belukar puyangan is used to introduce the beginning of the story, which delineates the setting of the story. As the description focuses on the nature of Indonesia, therefore, it is understood why the translator uses foreignization. So the translator wants to introduce that the Indonesian typical nature as the setting of place. Besides, it is also difficult to translate the term. And then to compensate, the translator transfers the word belukar here into Bashis with the strategy of partial cultural substitution to help the readers that Puyangan here, that is being talked, is a type of plant or Bashis. Yeah. And then next to the next datum, similar to belukar puyangan, the term burung-burung kucica is also translated by employing a loan word strategy, which can be seen in the second sentence in the slide. Burung-burung kucica yang terkejut terbang mencicit. The kucica birds would fly off in fright upon hearing them. It is interesting to see burung-burung kucica or Erytacus rubecula. So I take it from Google that this is the Latin name. It is translated by using foreignization and maintaining the Indonesian name for the birds. Kucica birds are known as robins, which can be found not only in Indonesia, but also in other parts of the world as their habitat, perhaps with different species. And this might be understood that probably the translator again wants to show Indonesian nature by using the local name for the animals rather than to make the readers easily understand the term by just using robins to translate it. The local name kucica is maintained through a loan word strategy to show the richness and diversity of Indonesian nature. Therefore, it can be seen that the foreignization in By the Foot of the Cipalak Hill is mostly done through loan word strategy with a part of cultural substitution as compensation to help the readers understand the translated terms. Right. The next example, Pawuan. The cultural specific item Pawuan is also maintained and used as a loan word in the English translation. Pawuan comes from the Japanese word au, which means ash, abu in Bahasa Indonesia. Pawuan is a place at home to collect and burn household waste. It is probably retained to show the culture and habits of Javanese people, especially in Tangier village, that is being represented in the work. The Javanese saying Rimo Pandu in the next datum is also maintained as a word with an explanation, as it is translated into Nrimo Pandum, accepting everything with a glad heart. Therefore, the readers will get to know this term or this saying in Javanese, and they also understand the meaning of the saying. Besides, it will enrich the non-Indonesian native speaker or and the readers who are not familiar with Javanese customs, even if they are also Indonesians. In this datum, actually, we have also an example of domestication. Yeah, translating the word or the term kaula. Yeah, because it is Banyumasan dialect, so kaula, not kaulo, right? Kaula into commoners by using paraphrase strategy. All right. And then the next datum. A similar loan word with an explanation strategy is also applied in this datum, everyone. Nunut kamukten. Yeah, nunut kamukten. It's a Javanese saying. Nunut is to join, follow. And kamukten is the noun form of the root word mukti. Mukti is an adjective, which means successful, prosperous, and happy. So it is portrayed in the English translation as nunut kamukten, moved up the social ladder, which means to join their close friend or relative or someone else who is successful in accomplishing something so that they could also be more respected. So get what is it? The effect. Right. So yeah, this is the loan word with explanation strategy. And then if I might add in this datum, we have also another example of domestication actually in translating caping lebar. Yeah, caping, kind of hat, usually worn by farmers. It is translated into a cone-shaped woven bamboo hat by using paraphrase strategy. So the use of foreignization in this text is done by the translator to maintain the identity in the work. And it aims to introduce and promote local Indonesian culture that the readers will get to know the typical and tropical atmosphere here in Indonesia. And also they will learn a new culture and vocabulary that will enrich their expressions of their language. All right, we've come to the conclusion of my research. Di Kaki Bukit Cibalak is one of the works from Ahmad Tohari that sets in a village with its richness of nature and Indonesian culture. Therefore, it is a challenge to translate the terms that are related to the culture. Thus, in conclusion, both domestication and foreignization done in the English translation have different characteristics and functions. Each ideology in a certain time will move the readers closer to the text, but also often move the text closer to the readers, such as in domestication. Although sometimes it entails a distortion of meaning, domestication is mostly employed with a cultural substitution strategy to translate the terms that have counterparts or similar concepts in English, also applied by using the strategy of superordinate and then paraphrase. On the other hand, foreignization here maintains the culture-specific items by using loan words and also loan words with explanation. by compensating the common terms. The foreignization is used to maintain the typical and local name of Indonesian plants, animals, and also the habits to show the Indonesianness in the English translation. By portraying the richness and diversity of the Indonesian nature and culture to a wider audience, both in Indonesia and worldwide. Everyone, ladies and gentlemen, both ideologies are vital as they serve to build the image of the translated Indonesian literature for the world audience. These translation ideologies and strategies are highly essential in representing the works in English, either printed or electronic literature. Domestication, even though with inevitable loss of meaning, gives no obstruction for the readers in following the plot of the story and gives them a reading experience that will get them more interested in following the plot of the story and gives them a reading experience that will get them more interested in the Indonesian culture portrayed in the work. While through foreignization, the readers will get to know a typical atmosphere in Indonesia. They will get to know also a new culture and vocabulary, which can enrich the expression of their language. Okay, so here are the cited works and references in this research representation. Thank you. That's the end of my presentation. And once again, thank you very much. I'll give the screen back to Andrea.
Thank you so much for the presentation, Ms. Almira. What a great presentation, right, guys, from Ms. Almira. And it was really interesting to learn about the ideology in translated electronic Indonesian literature and how important the right translation is for promoting Indonesian culture in literary work and also gives the readers understanding of the work. Well, ladies and gentlemen, now we've come to the question and answer session for our keynote speaker. I will welcome 2 or 3 questions first, and if we still have time, we can answer the rest of the questions. Okay, to the audience, please raise your hand or write your question on the chat box, and please mention your name and institution before giving the question. All right, I have some question here. Okay, the first one is from Priska. Hello, I'm Priska from Sanata Dharma University, and I'd like to ask Ms. Almira about the findings of your research. How do you relate to the findings of your research with the purpose targeted readers of the novel? So, Ms. Almira, you can answer the question.
All right, thank you, Andrea. Thank you very much, Priska, for the question. So how do I could relate the findings of this research with the targeted readers of the novel? You mean the English translation, right? So from the findings, we could see that the translator employs both domestication and foreignization. So if the targeted readers are Indonesian, because the book is mainly distributed in Indonesia, that will attract the readers that are not familiar in Japanese culture. It will encourage them to read this book because the use of the ideology and also the strategies will help them to understand the foreign culture that are not familiar. And also for the non-native Indonesian speaker, it will help them to understand the story by using the domestication, right, without no obstruction. And also it will enrich their expression of their language, because they are not speaking Indonesian. So they will get to know Indonesian terms, or they will know the description of Indonesian nature and culture, and also they will get to know the typical Javanese culture, particularly Banyumas culture here. Yeah, Banyumas pride. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Amira. To Priska, does Ms. Amira answer your question? All right, I hope Ms. Amira already answered the question for Priska. And maybe we can moving on to the next question. It's from Muhammad Reza. Hello, my name is Reza. I'm a student at Mahidol University. I assume that you employ qualitative analysis in identifying and explaining the domestication and foreignization. I would like to hear your opinion whether it's possible to employ quantitative analysis after the qualitative. It is interesting and worthwhile to quantify the domestication and foreignization, and then explain the implications. Further, quantifying related question could emerge, for example, which strategy is dominant and why is it dominant? It is mirroring the society or it is the other's writing style? What's the part of speech of the most common domestication and foreignization, and so on. Thank you for your explanation. To Ms. Almira, maybe you can answer some question from Reza.
Okay, thank you very much, Reza, for the question. Yeah, I think it's quite a long question, yeah. So let me skim it again. All right. So the quantitative analysis for this kind of research is very visible. So it's possible to employ quantitative analysis to support the argument of the qualitative analysis. So we can, analyze the most dominant ideology and then the strategies applied in the works to translate the culture-specific items from Indonesia to English. Well, if there are two poles here, it's domestication versus foreignization, right? So if the frequency or the percentage of each ideology is not balanced, so we can see that the tendency of the translation is either moving the text closer to the readers or moving the readers closer to the text. And usually it is also influenced by the brief of the publisher. Like in a certain publisher or publishing houses, they have a certain brief for the editor and the translator in guiding them how to translate Indonesian work into English. There might be publishing houses that impose to, use domestication. So just, make the foreign readers easily understand the story or the work. But there might be also another publishing houses that aims to, introduce the Indonesian culture or nature. So they just forsake the smoothness of the story by employing the foreignization, although they can provide the explanation by using footnotes or endnotes or glossarium. Because sometimes it is said that the ideology of foreignization or using foreignization is obstructive because it, distract the reading of the, the reading process of the readers, because suddenly they are, suddenly there is a alien words in the passage and they have to wonder what the meaning of this term, and then they have to find out the definition from other part of the story. So it is kind of disturbing the reading experience. So back again, it doesn't only depend on the translator, but also the brief of the publishing houses. And I think it could be also, more comprehensive if we could conduct an interview should the interview the translator or also the author, because sometimes the author wants their words to be translated in a certain way by the translator, right? And then also, the writing style of the author is also one of the important factors in translating the work, because sometimes the author's style needs to be maintained in the translated work. Right, so yeah, there are so many, there are so many factors and also things that can be unrevealed while analyzing the domestication, foreignization, translation ideology in a certain work. Right.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Almira. To Reza, does Ms. Almira answer your question, or do you want to clarify more? All right, crystal clear, ma'am. Okay, thank you. We can move to the next question. To Siti Aminah Intan Utami, would you like to deliver your question directly to Ms. Almira? Or do you want me to read your question? Yes, do you want to ask directly to Ms. Almira? Siti Aminah?
Oh, okay, Miss. Hello, I'm Siti Aminah Intan Utami from Pranata Dharma University, and I would like to ask Ms. Almira about, is the translation ideology or strategy employed for a specific purpose? Thank you.
Ms. Almira, you may answer the question.
All right. Okay, thank you, Intan, for the question. Right, so the translation ideology from the analysis here, both domestication and foreignization is of course employed for a specific purpose, as they are different in the nature and they have different characteristics and also objectives. The purpose for each ideology is different. For domestication, it's solely they they help the readers to understand the story without any obstruction in understanding the story, following the plot of the story, and it gives them a reading experience by clearly understanding and imagination for the narratives, while for the foreignization, by providing the original term, it shows Indonesian culture, right? Because sometimes when we translate a term, a specific cultural items to English, the meaning is not like 100% equivalent, right? So there must be a loss of meaning. So by using foreignization, it can maintain the culture, like the whole meaning, but at the same time, it needs, it requires the readers to have, more effort in understanding the story, because they have to find the definition of the term, but they will get to know the culture and also the, the typical Indonesian nature, culture, and also atmosphere, and they will get some new vocabularies and also expressions, yeah, in the language. Yeah. Sometimes when I read a translated works, I also get some new vocabularies in different language. And sometimes we can use that in our daily language, yeah, to appear, to be more fancy and cooler, right? Applying new vocabulary. Thank you, Intan.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Almira. To Sita Amina, does Ms. Almira answer your question?
Yes, Miss, thank you so much.
Okay. And I think we still have more times to answer the question. To all the participants, if you have any question for Ms. Almira's presentation, you might ask by using your raise
Excuse me.
hand feature. Yes, to Josephine Malateputi.
If I'm not mistaken, there are some jokes that can only be understood in our language. And sometimes the context of the jokes are explained in the footnotes, right? For example, konde, wordplay on con, cone, and konde, ban. Mostly the wordplay jokes.
All right. So Amira, would you like to give comments?
All right, thank you, Josephine, for the question. So yeah, indeed, translating jokes or puns and wordplay is indeed very difficult. Yeah, not only from Bahasa Indonesia to English, but also when we need to translate from English to Bahasa Indonesia. So most of the time, the translator must find another jokes that is still related to the effect of the jokes or the puns or the wordplay to replace the original one. So they recreate the joke by using by using the target language, context, and also culture, so that it can be accepted by the target language readers. So later, if we are analyzing deeper for translation, sometimes the translator is not only translating, but let's say they are rewriting, recreating the wordplay and also the jokes. So yeah, because if we just translate it literally, the meaning wouldn't be acceptable, and the joke wouldn't be. It is no longer a joke in the target language because the sense and the culture is different. So yeah, sometimes the translator must employ their creativity to make another joke or another wordplay or puns in the target language. So yeah, I think that's a challenge for a translator to do so.
Or sometimes the context is explained. For example, there's a Japanese joke, kirinaru. Kirinaru in Japanese has two meanings. First, curious, and second, becoming a tree.
All right, if we are talking about the Japanese translation to Indonesian, so we can find another joke that is has the same effect with that again, kirinari or something like that. Yeah, so we can employ a joke that is related to the tree, or yeah, some similar characteristics with the original one in Japanese. But there's also another strategy to to just use the jokes, and then they explain it the context, so that the readers will get to know the original jokes at the same time, but they will get to know the meaning of the joke. But if we are employing the later strategy, just translate it literally, it will add the paragraph to be much longer, and perhaps it will, disturb the reading experience of the readers too, because they will be presented with the explanation. Yeah, but I think it is the preference of the translator and also the publisher how to translate the jokes, whether to maintain it or to find the equivalent one in the target language. Thank you, Josephine. I like your question.
All right, thank you, Josephine. Maybe you can go to another question to all the participants. If you have any question, we still have time. Okay, to Gracia Puspa, you may ask your question.
Hello, Ma'am Almira. Good morning. So my name is Gracia Puspa Ninita. I'm from Universitas Sarata Dharma, and I would like to ask you, this is pure curiosity. Why do you take di kaki Bukit Cibalak as the object of the research? Thank you, ma'am.
Right, shall I answer the question now, Andrea?
Yes, Miss.
Okay. All right, Gracia. Thank you for the question. So I take di kaki Bukit Cibalak and also its English translation, what is the name? By the foot of the Cibalak Hill as my objects of research, because in one side, the research covering these novels are still limited. I don't know, because it's only published in electronic version, or they prefer another novel. But on the other hand, this novel contains global issues that is still relevant until today, and to translate them, the culture-specific items in the novels are very challenging, because we know that Ahmad Tohari's work are rich in Javanese culture, particularly Banyumas culture. So I think it will be good to analyze the translation ideology and also strategies in this novel. And then, right, here I also want to show that in a certain novel or certain translated novel, it is possible that there is a balance between foreignization and domestication to translate a culture-specific item. And they serve different characteristics and also purpose toward the readers. Well, and the other personal reason, because I come from the same region with the author, Pak Ahmad Tohari. He is from Tinggarjaya, Jatilawang, Banyumas, and I'm from Banyumas too. So at least I know the atmosphere and then how the culture and the nature portrayed in the work, because it feels closer to me personally and also as a researcher. I mean, I could get to understand the context better. Yeah, this one of the advantages. And also, if it's not us to analyze this work, then who else, right? So yeah, I just want to bring up my own culture to the wider audience through the research. Thank you, Gracia. I think that's all my reasons.
Okay, thank you, Miss, for the answer. Gracia, would you like to give more clarify? Or that's all? Okay. Next, we have a question from Faustin from Universitas Sanata Dharma. You may ask directly.
Hello, ma'am. My name is Faustin Claudia Sarapova, and I'd like to ask about what are the typical characteristics of the culture-specific items in di kaki Bukit Cibalak. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Amira, you may answer.
All right, Faustin, thank you very much for the question. So I'm very happy that in this agenda, I got to be questioned by all of you. I hope we have the same discussion too in my class. Right. Okay, Faustin. Right, the characteristics of the culture-specific items by the foot of the Cibalak Hill. So I focus on the culture terms. It covers the nature terms and then the habits and also the customs of the Javanese Tangir village people in the novel. And if I could draw a conclusion on the characteristics, when we have the natural terms, such as the name of the plants, the name of the animals that is typical to that region. So the context is Bukit Cibalak, Cibalak Hill. So let's imagine that the setting of place is a village surrounded by thick forest, right? Hutan jati. And then in the description, in the narrative, the culture-specific items in the natural terms are dominant, and the name of them are translated into foreignization so that the readers will get to know the local name of the animal and the plants. Right. And also for the Javanese sayings, they are mostly translated by using foreignization too, completed with the explanation of the saying. So we got to know the original saying like Rimo in Pandung and then Nunut Kamukten, and then also the other examples that I haven't provided here in the slide is the word botoh and then the word the name of one typical batik motifs in the story. So from this, we get to know the sayings from the Javanese, and then we also know the meaning of terms or the expression. And I could imagine that if we have the same context that is related to the sayings, we can also use the sayings in our daily language, which means it enrich our vocabulary, our bank of words and expressions in communicating with others. And then also for the domestication, the terms that are translated in domestication are mostly the culture-specific items that have the counterparts or similar concepts in the English or in the foreign countries, for example, like the bamboo hat, to translate chopping. We also can find a similar bamboo hat, but I think the function or the shape might be different, but because it can be found in another countries or in another culture, it's safe to use the domestication. And then also the other types of domestication, right? Right, the common names for the nature, the grass, and then the buffaloes, because they are also found in another countries. They are familiar with it, so we can say that it's safe to use this domestication, although there might be some kind of loss in meaning. That's all, Andrea.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Faustin. Does Ms. Almira answer your question? Okay, it's clear. All right, I think we still have time for one more question. For the participant, do you have any more question? Okay, from Gracia Chronica, would you like to ask your question directly or should I read it?
Okay, Miss. My name is Gracia from Sanata Dharma University, and I would like to ask Miss Almira a question. As the English translation is published in Indonesia, how it will benefit Indonesian readers?
Thank you for the question, Ms. Almira.
Okay, thank you, Chia, Gracia, for the question. So Gracias today is the MVP, right? All right. So what is it again, the question? Oh yeah, the benefit for the Indonesian reader, sorry. Right. So because the work, the English translation is also published in Indonesia, so it will benefit Indonesian readers. They will, what is it? I think the benefit would be for the readers who are not familiar with Japanese culture, or they haven't been in Banyumas or in Java, they could get a description of this place, and also they will get to know the culture of Japanese. Because sometimes if let's imagine that we are not Japanese and we read a novel with so many Japanese vocabularies, expressions, and terms, we might be confused with the meaning, because sometimes in the original novel, I have checked mine, the original novel doesn't really provide the footnotes or the endnotes or the glossary. So if the non-Japanese readers read this novel, they need to be more independent in finding the meaning of the terms. While in the English translation, the readers are provided with the explanation, the meaning, and also an easier way to understand the story by translating some of the terms into domestication and also with foreignization plus the explanation. So it's not only for the foreign readers outside Indonesia, but for the Indonesian who doesn't really, who are not really familiar with the Japanese culture, I think they will be benefited from this translation. That's Gia.
Thank you, Ms. Amira, for the answer. Gracia, does Ms. Almira answer your question?
Okay, thank you very much, Miss Almira. All clear.
Okay, thank you all. And I guess the time is up for the question and answer. Thank you to all the participants for your question, and thank you, Ms. Almira, for the answers. And now we can move on to the summary of the participants' paper. And we would like to ask your summary of your papers. Would there be any volunteer to start the session to all the participants? To the participant, if you have any question during this presentation, you can use the chat box, and later on we can answer it in the question and answer session too. Okay. Is there any volunteer, or should I pick at random? Okay, if there's no volunteer, I would pick at random. So guys, be ready. Okay, I would like to invite Adriani Bernadette Wilarunu, Elonai Christina Vanes, and Felicia Inggita Andalu Putri from Universitas Sanata Dharma to give the summary of their paper entitled "Is the Digital Transformation in English Language and Literature in Post-Pandemic in Indonesian Going Well?" To Adriani, Elionai, and Felicia, the screen is yours.
Hello, good morning and good afternoon, everyone. I am Elena Krishna Vanes, and our summarize of the paper. In our most recent news on unfinished learning, we found the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic on students' learning and well-being and identify potential considerations for school systems as they support students in recovery and next. And then university systems can react after numerous reasons, fitting their procedures based on the existing instructive execution, the profundity and weight of learning delays, and framework, capacity, and resources. One of the challenges is assessing the global effect of the post-pandemic on learning is the need for inspiration to think about the English language and literature. While some students may have learned more slowly than they would have absent the pandemic, others in this archetype may have slipped backward. Once students are back in universities, members may require back to recover from the post-pandemic English language and literature and social-emotional effects. I think that's all for summary from our group. More or less, I would like to say thank you.
Thank you so much, Elionai. And we can move to the next summary. Before we move to the question and answer session, I would like to invite Bulan Liu Andadari and Lucia Chelsea Lita with their paper entitled "The Impact of Digital Literature on Children's Learning Ability." To Bulan Liu and Lucia Chelsea Lita, the screen is yours.
Hello, my name is Bulan Liu Andadari. I am from Sanata Dharma University. So, the impact of digital literature, because of how vast the internet is, it holds a lot of easily accessed platforms for little children to use, and one of those platforms are digital literature. With the availability and easy access of digital literature platforms, it comes with many positive impacts on children's learning abilities, but it also has its negative impacts. The first is positive impacts. By using the platform for like audiobooks, it can be a beneficial medium for children as it helps them learn how to pronounce certain words while also knowing how the word is written. It could also help them to heighten their interest in reading more as it lessen the problem of reading being tricky or tiring, as well as they need to do is to just listen and follow the audio recording, because it also helps them being interested in the pictures being shown or illustrations provided in the audiobooks. Other reasons is also giving more help with their vocabulary by discovering and learning new words, but also giving them new insights for topics and ideas.
Then the negative impact with the use of digital literature is becomes easier and more is accessible for children to receive education, but in some cases of children, too much use digital literature or digital technology would lead to an overly obsession or unhealthy addiction to the use of technology, as they fail to remember the time or even their surroundings, preventing them to being stimulated by experiencing situation other than the world they experience through the digital technology. It also concerning of a child in their experience is supervised and all of the information received, seen, read, and imitated is not filtered correctly and appropriately, and it would interfere with their growth in forming the child's personality, character, and cognitive abilities. That's all. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the summary. And I would like to ask one more summary before the question and answer. I'd like to ask, I would like to invite Valentino Eko Febrianto, Michael Prudence, and Febrila Christi Valentina to share their summary of their paper entitled Post-Pandemic Effects on Song Publication Promotion on Instagram. To Valentino Eko, Michael Prudence, and Febrila Christi, the screen is yours.
Okay, thank you, Andrea. First of all, am I audible?
Crystal clear.
Okay, so first of all, let me introduce myself. So my name is Valentino Eko, and let me read the summary for you guys about our paper entitled Post-Pandemic Effects of Song Publications Promotions on Instagram. So this paper is looking at music artists who uses Instagram algorithm trend of making little teasers of music to publicize their work and gain views, specifying on songs that are made with English language and compare the views gained during the pandemic and post-pandemic and see if there is a change. The subject we use are songs made by Charlie Puth because his songs are general, catchy, easy to be accepted by audience from all and doesn't cater to one specific audience. There are multiple factors that can be reason to a song. One of them being their genre of music that caters to preference or an individual. So we minimize this by picking songs that are naturally catchy and are easily digest and clarity, which have clear pronunciation in the song. So what can be inferred from the data we took is that viewers rating on specifically in the artist. Charlie Puth viewers on several Instagram posts are gaining since the pandemic and the post-pandemic event. So I think that's all from our group. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Eko. Okay, we have heard 3 summary of the papers, and I would like to ask some question for the 3 papers. The question is for all of them. I would like to ask about what are the challenges or difficulties in writing your papers? To Bulan Biu, Valentino Eko, or Elionai, you may answer the question. And if the participant have any question, you might ask it too.
Okay, I think that's yes. I'll just repeat on what I got from your question. It would be about the challenges that we face, correct? Okay, so the challenges that we faced when we were making this paper was that we were quite confused about the topic. As in, when we decided that we're going to use the topic of post-pandemic songs and music artists. We were com- we were we were conflicted with the amount of artists that are out there. And there are so many artists that are out there, and it became such a challenge that we were having a difficulty in choosing the artists. I guess that's it.
Okay, thank you so much for the answer. And to other papers would like to answer my question?
I would answer. Yeah, so my challenge and my friend's challenge in writing the paper is maybe time management, because during the writing of the paper we were busy with KKN, and that is why we do not have to manage it while also doing activities outside of campus also. Yeah, and the last reason is the challenging part is for finding references. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wow, what an effort from you guys. Thank you for writing those paper. And to Elionai, can you answer my question about the difficulties while writing your paper?
I think no from our group, because as far as we prepare the material and discuss it, we are not having any difficulty, as we are aware that the subject is born in the community, and of course the resources we are looking for are based on its reality in the field. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much for the answer. No difficulties. Okay. All right. Thank you for the informative and interesting presentation to Ms. Almira and all the participants who have already talked about their summary. We have learned so many things today, from the ideology of translation, the impact of digital literature, and so on. And hopefully the information which we have shared today would be useful for all of us. Thank you to all the audiences for your participation. Let me express my gratitude to all participants for your contribution to today's webinar. I would like to express my appreciation to the speaker, Ms. Almira Ghazani Sabrina Romala from Universitas Sanata Dharma, for their dedicated efforts on the comprehensive report. I would like also to thank everyone who prepared for this conference. All your efforts contribute to the fruitful discussion today. So I think that's all from me. Back to you, Johannes.
Okay. Thank you, Andrea. We learned a lot of new things, a lot of interesting informations, from the presentation by Miss Almira, and then also after we listened to the abstract to the details of some of the participants' paper, and I must say that those are interesting presentations. Yeah. But so before the main session ends now, yes, for those of you who are wondering, yes, we are nearing the end. But before the main session ends, we will announce the winner for the best paper. Yeah, the best paper. So now we have 3 nominated papers, of which one of them will be crowned as the best paper of ELUC 2022. Okay, so these are the title of the papers. First, we have The Comical Wayang Orang Show as the identity of Opera Van Java through the episode of Bandung Bondowoso by Atika Pradanti from Universitas Sanata Dharma. Second, we have Rummaging the Sense of Cherishing ebooks in the same way as printed as books among Gen Z by Felicia Arilatri Nimas Ragilita, Gisela Kirana Anindita, Nicholas Herjuno Satrio Adi from Universitas Sanata Dharma. And the third, we have literacy skill decrease due to post-pandemic period of English letter students from Sanata Dharma University by Kinantira Rasatuti, Faustinus Faraleuk, and Hana Yerimia Lumbange from Universitas Sanata Dharma. Okay, so those are the nominations for the best papers, and now I would like to ask some questions for all three respective nominated papers, and you might answer these questions like in turn, like one by one, like question one, paper one, paper two, paper three, and so on and so on. Okay, so I'll pick three questions from the list. Okay, the first question: can you please tell us about the summary of the paper? Okay, I'm calling the Comical Wayang Orang show. Atika Pradanti, are you present? Can you please tell us the summary of your paper?
Okay. Thank you so much for giving me the screen. All right. My name is Atika Pradanti from Sanata Dharma University, and I'm from English Letters Department. And the summary of my paper is, we know that pandemic have a huge impact on human life and all things adapt to it. A very visible impact is the use of digital tools and various electronic media to facilitate human life. Consequently, this digital transformation emerged. Apparently, it also has impacts on digital transformation in language and literature. During the pandemic, human activities are strictly limited and they are prohibited from going out unless there is an urgent need. They certainly also feel bored if every day at home. Therefore, the role of electronic media is needed to entertain them through language and literary works. The use of audio, visual, and audiovisual media is an inseparable part of this era. The emergence of television, YouTube, etc., that produce audio and visuals now tends to become a mass culture for consumers. It follows one of the functions of television and YouTube as a medium of entertainment by being a distraction and means a respite from social tensions. Consequently, it can be used to spread and entertain people through language and literature to them. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Atika. Next, I will call upon the authors of the second paper with the same question still, rummaging the sense of cherishing ebooks in the same way as printed books among Gen Z. So for Felicia Arila Trinimas, Gisela Kirana Andidita, and Nicholas Herjuno Satrio Adi, one of you may present to us the summary of your papers.
Okay, the summary of our paper is books are not only available by writing, printing, and then distributing them through bookstores. Nowadays, books can be found in digital form, which are known as ebooks. Discussing this, it certainly cannot be forgotten that there is a generation that is so familiar with digital devices. This generation is often called Gen Z. A few media refers them as digital natives. This research analyze the existence of ebooks and printed books among Gen Z, especially in the era of post-pandemic. It focuses is on how the Gen Z cherish ebooks in the same way as physical books. After conducting interview with two people who are among Gen Z, the researchers have found some clues to answer questions. Gen Z cannot deny the ease of accessing ebooks. Gen Z also feels that the essence or message to be conveyed through the books uh, do not have such a significant influence. This can be concluded from their answer related to the desire to read with ebooks. Despite all the troubles experienced during the pandemic, these two agreed to choose printed book to read. It is because there is a sensation or satisfaction that they do not get by reading digital books. Thus, it can be concluded that there are certain psychological conditions that cannot be achieved when reading ebooks. That's all from us.
Okay, excuse me. Had to cough for a bit. Um, yeah, thank you for Gisela. And now it's still the same question. I would like to welcome the author of the third paper, literacy skill decrease due to post-pandemic period of English letter students from Sanata Dharma University. Okay, so for Kinanti Rara Satuti, Faustinus Farelewuk, and Hana Yeremia Lumbange, one of you may present the summary of your paper to us. The time is yours.
Hello. Yeah, thank you for the Master of Ceremony to giving me the stage. Okay, so yeah, I'm so happy. Actually, not really, so but I'm happy. Yeah. So I am Faustinus Farel from Sanata Dharma University, and our group papers title is Literacy Skill Decrease due to post-pandemic period of English letters student from Sanata Dharma University. And we already made the summary of our paper. This study is made based on the knowledge of students' literacy degrees. Well, there are some statement about the topic. The researcher choose to pick the topic to be studied thoroughly. According to UNESCO, Indonesia has a reading interest index which is only 0.001%, where the percentage is quite low, very, very low actually. The pandemic session is guessed to be the significant reason on the issue regarding the researchers' hypothesis. Upon seeing these issues, the researchers made two problem formulation to be assessed in the data to know the truth about how drastic pandemic is to affect students' literacy skill and how it is working through these years. In order to get the data, the researchers use a quantitative method by sending out forms to be filled by college students. The object of the form is college student in Sanata Dharma University, especially students in English Letters Department, batch 2020 to 2021, considering they are the batch that are getting the most effect of the pandemic session. The forms are spread out through Google Form and spread out via WhatsApp groups to get more respondents. The researchers successfully got 50 respondents from the two batches, which is divided 58% from batch 2020 and 42% from batch 2021. The data get processed, and then based on it, the researchers can conclude that the pandemic session to make a drastic change for literacy decrease. Although before the pandemic, students indeed do not care about literacy, but post-pandemic really make the student lose interest in literacy. Some factor may be the cause of decreased literary skill, but the pandemic session just made it worse since it decreased student awareness about the importance of literacy. This is our group summary. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you so much, Farel. For we might not. Okay. So we're gonna be moving on to the next question. Yeah. So I would like to ask Farel again, actually. About the next question, and we'll go in order. The same question would be delivered to the other other authors of the nominated paper, but I would like to start with Farrell again. For the second question, were there any challenges or barriers while doing your research? What are they?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question, please? Because my internet connection was getting trouble.
Okay.
Yeah.
The question is, have you ever met a difficulty or some kind of barrier while you were doing your research? What are they?
Okay. Actually, I will divide it by two problem. The first one is how we approaches the target of our audience and our respondent. This is hard because there's not many students would like to fill our forms, but we're trying to. So it's the difficult is how we approach it. And the second one is we don't have many times to doing more research about the answer, because our group vision is to make this data is valid. It's valid, and it's yeah, it could be can be responsible data. So yeah, there's our two problem, but so far it's not really hard actually. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Farrell, for the answer. Okay, moving on, still with the same question. I would like to invite again, wait, excuse me. Between Gisela, Felicia Arilatri, or Nicolas Serjuno Satrio Adi, would you like to answer the same question? Yeah, the question is about whether or not you found some kind of difficulty or barriers while you were doing your research. Yeah, one of you may answer this question. Okay, the time is yours.
All right, thank you for the question, Yo-Yo. Let me introduce myself. My name is Juno, and I'm representing my group. And I will answer the question. The first challenge that we found is books and ebooks, especially the topics of our paper, our preferences. So it is kind of hard to decide which one is favorable. And then the second challenge is when we found the respondents for our research paper, because we need to take time to find who is capable to answer this question, because our friends, especially in my circle of friends, is not really likes books. So we need to take time, and we need to looking for some people that very capable to answer this question. And also the last challenge is have the same challenge with the previous group. We have what is that? There is no long time for us to assign this paper, so we need to take it more fast and quickly, and absolutely we have to submit it on time. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Herjuno. Okay, so next, still the same question. I would like to invite Atika Pradanti again. Atika, to answer the same question regarding whether or not you found any kind of barriers or difficulties while doing your research. Okay, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you so much for the question. The difficulty I found was in selecting the object of research. I have to choose what television show or what show is suitable for my research. And yeah, I finally found it. That's it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for the for the answer. Okay, so we're gonna be moving on to the last question. As I've said before, there will only be 3 questions for each group, for each paper. Okay, so this is the last question. I will also like to ask Atika again. What motivates you to write about this topic? I mean, like, is there any kind of personal motives or anything else that might motivate you to, okay, I want to write about this topic? Like, screen is yours.
Okay. Actually, I take over from Java the episode of Bandung Bondowoso because it clearly reflects the language and literary works taken from Javanese culture but packaged in a modern way. Even though Opera van Java is no longer on the television, but we can still watch it on YouTube. In conclusion, this one is an example of the digital transformation in post-pandemic language and literature. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Atika. Still with the same question. I would like to welcome again Herjuno or Gisela or Felicia Arilatri to answer the same question. Okay, if you would like to, would you like to hear the question again or? Hello? For the paper Promoting the Sense of Cherishing Ebooks, made by Felicia Arilatri, Gisela Kirana, and Nicholas Herjuno, we would like you to answer the same question. Or would you like the question to be repeated, or have you found the answer already?
Okay, I will answer the question. Our motivation to conduct the paper is because we still doubt is it printed book is still relevant to the Gen Z, since the development of technology made us feel so more comfortable, especially in our our society. We can say like that, and then we are motivated to know, is it printed books still exists for Gen Z and so on. So I think that's the motivation for us to conduct this paper.
Okay, thank you, Herjuno. Okay, moving on. For Farel, Kinanti Raras, and Hana Yeremia, we would like you to answer the question.
Okay, let me allow me to represent my group again in answering the second question. So we believe that a great nation begins with people habits of forming a mindset. Without being shaped by the environment, the role of literacy cannot be denied as an important role as well. Initially, we wanted to conduct research on a larger scale, but we changed our mind to reduce the scope of the audience to our department in our university. So we want to know how big our people interest in literacy. That's it. Thank you.
Hey, okay, thank you, Farel. So that was for the question and answer session for the best paper nomination. Yeah. Okay, so what interesting answers for all of our nominees. Now, because the answers have been given, now this is the time that you have been waiting for. Okay, so I will announce the winner for the best paper. One of from out of those 3 nominees, one will be crowned the best. Okay, so the best paper is judged based on the writing format, academic writing, similarity check, and plagiarism. Okay. You ready? So now, the best paper goes to Faustinus Farelewuk, Kinanti Raras S, and Hana Yeremia from Universitas Sanata Dharma with the title of the paper, Literacy Skill Decrease Due to Post-Pandemic Period of English Letter Student from Sanata Dharma University with the plagiarism percentage of only 1%. Congratulations! Okay, and congratulations. First of all, congratulations for Farel, Kinantiraras, and Hana Yeremia. Now I will read the abstract of your paper, yeah? Okay, so the abstract of the paper is, this study aims to determine the differences and the impact of the pandemic on the literacy of English literature students at Sanata Dharma University in the new normal transition period. Literacy cannot be separated from language skills, but on the other hand, literacy is an individual skill in reading, writing, and solving problems at a certain level that is needed in everyday life. According to UNESCO, Indonesia has a reading interest index which is only 0.001%, as I've said before by Farel, where the percentage is quite low. Yeah, very, very low actually. When the pandemic occurred in 2020, the policy to stay at home had begun and the rule reached teaching and learning activities, with circumstances that make most people unable to leave the house, whether this affects a person's literacy level or not. Students are one of the learning groups affected by this pandemic, especially for new students who are starting the first year of lectures. This research was conducted on class 2020 students in the odd semester of the 2020-2021 academic year. The proposed research method uses quantitative research methods using a Google form, which we will fill with the several questions containing literary texts from various categories as for measuring students' knowledge about the literacy due to the post-pandemic period. Google form as a questionnaire media that we will distribute to each class of the class of 2020-2021, taking into account the circumstances that require staying at home to grow interest in writing or reading as an indicator. Okay, so that was the abstract of the paper, and that's a great paper, I think. From this paper, we could learn a lot of new information about literacy skill and its decrease due to post-pandemic period. Okay, again, congratulations for Farel, Kinantiraras, and Hana Yeremia. But for now, I think that's all for the best paper nomination. Okay, moving on. Next, we have door prize. Door prize. It's door prize time. Okay, so there will be 3 participants who are willing to share about what Mrs. Almira presentation is about. Excuse me. So I will give out around 3 questions. Actually, there's only 3. Okay. There will be 3 questions that I will deliver to you, and one of you might answer these questions. And for you who will gonna be able to answer the question correctly, there will be a door prize. What is the door prize? I think it's e-money, correct? Yeah. Okay, so there will be a door prize in the form of e-money for you. The amount is still disclosed, is still a classified information, but you will be getting some money. Yeah. Okay, so the first question. Wait, I need to cough. Okay, excuse me. The first question is about, what is the title of Mrs. Almira's presentation? Any one of you who would like to answer the question, please raise your hand using the hand feature, or or you are welcome to just turn on your microphone and answer the question directly, but please still maintain the netiquette of the webinar. Okay. Any one of you would like to answer? What is the title of Mrs. Almira's presentation? Come on. For those of you who are able to answer the question correctly, there will be a door prize in the form of e-money for you. Okay, Michael Prudence. Michael Prudence raised his hand.
Okay, am I audible?
Yep, you are audible very clearly.
Okay, the title of Miss Almira's paper is Moving the Readers or the Text Closer on Ideology in Translated Electronic Indonesian Literature.
Okay, correct. The answer is very correct. Congratulations for answering the question correctly. Later, you will be approached by our committee to send the door prize, excuse me, straight to you. Okay. Thank you very much. And now, we'll be moving on to the second question. What is the title of the novel that Mrs. Almira researched about? What is the title of the novel that Mrs. Almira researched about? Okay, we have someone who is willing to answer. It's Zhong Doc MG Clow. Okay, what a good name. From Sanata Dharma University.
So
Yeah, you may answer the question.
so the answer is the book by Ahmad Tohari, Di Kaki Bukit Cibalak.
Yeah, okay. Congratulations. The answer is correct. Once again, the committee will approach you later after this conference to send the door prize straight to you. Okay. And now we're moving on to the last question for the door prize session. Okay, the question is, tell us about the results of Mrs. Almira's research. Tell us about the results of Mrs. Almira's research. Okay, this question might be a bit tricky, depending on whether or not you listen to the presentation. But for those of you who feels like you're able to answer this question, all the time is yours. Hello? Is there anyone who knows the question? Uh-huh. I heard a voice earlier. I just heard a voice. Do you want to answer the question for us? Okay. Is there none? Is there really none? Okay, then Since no one is willing to answer, or since no one knows the answer to the question, okay, so I will give out the answer for you. Okay, so the results of Mrs. Almira's research is about domestication, foreignization, cultural substitution, and loan words. Yeah, like I said before, this is a tricky answer to tricky question to answer. But yeah, that is the answer for the third question. Okay. Now moving on. First of all, I want to say thank you for all the participants who have answered the door prize questions. And attention, we also encourage the participants to post about our seminar today to your social media by using hashtag ELUC 2022 and to tag us at Instagram at eluc.usd. This only applies to those who were able to answer the door prize questions. Yeah, please post about our seminar today through your social media by using hashtag ELUC 2022 and tag us at Instagram at eluc.usd. Okay, now we're going to be moving on to next session. Before we move to the next session, which is the last session also, as a form of our gratitude and appreciation from the English Letters Undergraduate Conference for the presentation and for the knowledge that has been conveyed, we symbolically present a certificate of appreciation to Mrs. Almira as the speaker and Jean-François Chenpujianto as the head of the committee. Okay, so I invite both of you to turn on the camera on your devices.
Okay, right. Now, for the symbolization as the representation of the committee, I would like to gratefully deliver our appreciation to Mrs. Almira Ghazani Rumala for presenting for this event. It is our honor to have Mrs. Almira as our key speaker in 6th English Letters Undergraduate Conference 2022. Thank you so much. It means a lot to us.
All right, thank you very much. It's also been an honor for me to be a part of the 6th English Letters Undergraduate Conference. So thank you, John. Thank you all the committees. Thank you all the participants. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, MC, I will give back to you.
Okay, thank you so much for Mrs. Almira and to Jong for the symbolical appreciation. Yeah. Now, again, before we are heading to the final session of this webinar, there will be a few words as the closing speech from Mrs. Katarina Brameswari as ELUC's advisor. So, dear Mrs. Brameswari, the screen is all yours.
Thank you very much, Johannes, for the time. First of all, the honorable lecturers of English Letters Department, our respected speaker today, Ms. Almira Ghazani Sabrina Romala, all of the participants from Universitas Sanata Dharma, Health Polytechnic Karya Husada Yogyakarta, University of Bengkulu, Universitas Komputer Indonesia, and all audiences who have joined this conference. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining this event. First of all, I would like to apologize because one of our presenters, Mr. Miguel Escobar Varela, cannot attend the webinar because of a personal reason. And the next, I would like to thank Ms. Almira, who has shared her outstanding presentation and insightful ideas and findings of her research. Hopefully, the information which have been shared today would be useful for all of us, especially for those who put their minds, hearts, and thoughts towards the issue on digital transformation in English language, literature, and translation. Next, my gratitude goes to all participants who have sent the articles and also the audience who have joined this annual conference. I hope that you will join the next ELUC that might be conducted offline next year. And moreover, I hope that more participants will join the seminar. The last but not least, I want to give my appreciation to the committees who have devoted their time, energy, as well as put it nothing but maybe blood, sweat, and tears so that this event may go well and successful. Thank you very much for your hard work. And now, yeah, it's time to grab some coffee, everyone. Thank you for coming and see you in ELUC 2023. Have a nice day.
Okay. Thank you so much, Miss Bre. This is Katarina Brameswari. Okay, I would like to have your attention for a second because there will be some information about the proceeding. Okay, so the proceeding is still in the ISBN process. We will inform you when the proceeding is ready and we'll send it back to your email. And for the participants, please fill out the Google form. The link will be available on the chat box. The Google form is used for attendance and for evaluation. Each participant must fill out the Google form in order to obtain the certificate. Okay, so please pay attention to this announcement. The Google form is used for attendance and evaluation. Each participant must fill out the Google form to obtain the certificate. So later, please kindly check your email inbox or your spam folder for the certificate. Of course, the certificate will be sent after 2 days from the seminar, starting today, because we will need to verify the list first. Okay, so please, again, pay attention to this announcement. You have to fill out the Google form in order to obtain the certificate, and we'll be sending it to you through your email inbox or spam folder after 2 days, starting from the seminar today, because we will need to verify the list first. Okay, then, ladies and gentlemen, with that, finally, we have passed the event together. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to say thank you to today's speaker, Mrs. Almira, who have given us and taught us all of the knowledge and all of the information. I also do not forget to thank the lecturers, committee, invited guests, and participants who have attended today's seminar, because without your support, this event will not run so well and so smoothly. Ladies and gentlemen, let us close the seminar with the theme: Digital Transformation, Post-Pandemic English Language and Literature, this afternoon with a prayer. Hopefully all the knowledge we get today is useful for all of us. To Jessica Irawan, please lead the prayer.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's place ourselves in the presence of the Lord. Dear God, thank you for your blessings. Thank you for allowing us today to meet and share our knowledge with one another in this webinar. May you extend your wisdom to our speaker so that she would be able to impart effectively the knowledge. May she be blessed as she continues to bring her expertise to people who need it. Dear God, may you also bless all the participants as well, so that we may go out and spread what we learned. And also may we realize that this activity should glorify your name. Amen.
Okay, thank you, Jessica Irawan, who led the prayer at the end of the seminar this afternoon. Me, as the master of ceremony, apologize for any kind of shortcomings, and we will see you at the ELUC event next year. Bye-bye.